Each year in the United States, thousands of major crimes go unsolved. When the case has gone cold and police have nowhere to turn, they seek assistance from the public. This is a program dedicated to solving these cases. This is Crime Stoppers Case Files.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for another Northeast Ohio edition of Crime Stoppers Case Files. I'm Bob Frantz. There are over 1,400 Crime Stoppers organizations operating around the world, and these organizations are empowering citizens like you to become directly and anonymously involved in fighting crime in our communities. We see the positive impact of this every day in Northeast Ohio. Crime Stoppers has become an important law enforcement tool, a proactive approach to taking dangerous criminals off of the streets, making them safer for us and our families. Each week on this television program, we'll share facts with you from unsolved cases, and you'll have an opportunity to submit information that may help investigators, possibly earning yourself a cash reward in the process without ever having to give your name. On Wednesday, August 19, 2009, 37-year-old Antoine Alexander was killed in the hallway of his brother's home on Fullerton Avenue on Cleveland's east side. Here's the story.
He was just a fun-loving baby. He was a bundle of joy. My firstborn. He just had a lot of love, just for everybody. He always had a big smile on his face. He was very smart. He loved to work on cars. He loved to go and try to speak foreign languages. He loved Spanish. He was in the Navy. He had fun over there. He was in Japan for a whole year, and he enjoyed it. I missed him terribly when he was gone, but he just wanted to do what he could for people. He was just that type of person. Very outgoing, very helpful, very mannerable, just everything, into one. That smile just told everything. And he always had it because he was just so happy. He just made everybody around him so happy.
He was the firstborn, 10 years older than me. I was the second, then a year after me was my little brother. But he carried us up under his wing all the time. Everywhere he went, we went with him. When my father wasn't around, Antoine was right there. Call him, need anything. He was running, straight there. No questions asked, no nothing. Needed anything, any problems. Just loved me, loved his other brother, Duck. He just loved us all.
He just tried to teach them everything and wanted them to follow in his footsteps. All of them have some part of him in him. He was the rock. He was my rock, he was their rock. He was just the rock. He loved his job. His job was his second family. He worked at UH. He was a lab courier. When he walked the halls, he just, put a smile on everybody's face because he had such a big one on his own.
Him working at the hospital, it was like he was a bundle of joy to everybody. And he always used to say, everybody know Twan, everybody know me. And we used to take him for a joke, but as we see now, everybody loved him. He was the most well-known, just happy person, brought joy to everybody, all the time.
Cleveland Police, how can we help you?
There's people up the street shooting.
Up the street where? On what street?
Fullerton.
On Fullerton?
Yes.
What's in Fullerton? Give me a cross street.
71st and Fullerton.
How many shots did you hear?
I heard 3 shots.
All right, what's in the police?
Okay.
On August 19th, 2009, approximately 9:15, we received a call at the homicide unit for a male victim of a gunshot wound who had died. We then went to 7007 Fullerton, which was the scene of this incident. Upon our arrival, the victim, who had been identified as Antoine Alexander, had already been transported. We interviewed the officers on scene. They advised us that upon their arrival, they found the victim laying in the rear hallway with his back against the basement door. Through our investigation, we found out that the upstairs neighbor and the downstairs had had a confrontation earlier in the day. The upstairs guy being Charles Alexander, who is the victim's brother, and the downstairs neighbor's son decided to take their fight out into the street. They get into a fist fight, they separate them, And after the fight, the downstairs neighbors and the victim's brother had all left. Charles Alexander had contacted his brother, Shawn Alexander, and advised him that the downstairs neighbors had jumped him. We then found out that Shawn had called the victim, Antoine Alexander, and that Alexander was on his way over to check on his brother. With everyone being gone, from our view of things, Alexander arrived, went to the rear door. It looks like he was shot the first time as he was closing the back door. He was shot in the back of the neck, which incapacitated him, and then he was shot several more times, including a wound to the chest that was the cause of his demise. No suspects, no vehicles. We canvassed the neighborhood. The shots were heard. No one was heard leaving the scene, either running or by vehicle. Now at this point, we've got a homicide with no suspects.
It was my birthday. I want to go out and have a good time. Meet up with my brothers and have a good time. Me to go in there and see him like that, birthday I'll never forget.
It just happened. Why him? He never hurt anybody. You know, I didn't know anybody had anything against him or anything. I don't know who would do this to him.
We'll be right back with more on the murder of Antoine Alexander right after this.
Crime Stoppers is an international organization dedicated to bringing resolution to unsolved crimes. Members of the public work with police to make the world a safer place. Since 1975, thousands of Crime Stoppers organizations worldwide have helped make over 1 million arrests. Crime Stoppers acts as your advocate, keeping you anonymous and ensuring that your information gets to the right law enforcement agency.
On August 19, 2009, Antoine Alexander went to his brother's home at 7007 Fullerton because of a fight that had occurred between his brother and the downstairs neighbors. No one was there, as we know it, when Antoine arrived. When he went into the home, he apparently surprised someone there and then was shot. As we went through the crime scene, we didn't find any casings that you would probably get from a semi or automatic weapon. We're under the impression that it might have been a revolver. It was a medium caliber weapon. Also, going through the scene of the upstairs apartment door looked to have been recently kicked in. Our thinking is that this happened after Charles Alexander left and the downstairs neighbor left, and someone unknown to us probably entered Charles's apartment and Antoine surprised him, and that's why he was shot. A check of the victim showed that he was employed by a university hospital. He had no run-ins with the police recently that we were aware of, and he was not known to be a troublemaker. The interview with Alexander gave us the impression that he was coming near because his brother Charles had been jumped on, and more than likely he was going to confront the people who jumped his brother.
Our lives have changed drastically, to me for the worse. Family's not even together like how we normally was. Antoine was like the glue, he was the jail. He kept everybody intact, he kept the house in order. Not ever gonna be like that again.
If anybody know anything, I mean anything, no matter how little they might think it is, it might be the answer to my prayers. Just whatever, how small you think it is, just call Crime Stoppers and just let them know.
Anybody have any ideas, anything they might have seen, anything that they think they might have seen, call. We need something. We have nothing right now. We need something. We need it like right now.
We're asking anyone with information in regards to this homicide to call the Cleveland Police Homicide Unit, and they can ask for me, Detective Jamal Ansari, or my partner, Detective Joselito Sandoval. They can call in anonymous, and we're just asking us to give us some help, to give this family some rest.
In the murder of Antoine Alexander, police have very little to go on. So if you know anything about this homicide, they need your help. Call Crime Stoppers. You will not have to give your name, and you can earn thousands of dollars in cash just for doing the right thing. Welcome back as we continue with Crime Stoppers Case Files. Iverson Wilson was a 32-year-old security guard who never missed a day of work in 11 years. On July 26th of last year, he was shot in the back in an apparent robbery. Here's the case.
Iverson was a good kid, always happy, laughed all the time, very cheerful. I had no problems with him at all, none, no problems.
He didn't need a gang of guys to be around him. He was a real man. He stood on his own 2 feet. He made his own money. He bought his own cars. He bought his own clothes. He worked his own job.
Iverson worked 11 years as a security guard and never missed a day.
He went to work every day, came home, and he would be in the house.
He was a loner. He stayed to himself. He was by himself. He stayed away from all trouble.
He always looked out for me. All you had to do is really just ask him for anything. If he got it, he'd give it.
He would always, wash my car for me. He just loved it. And he would always want to take it around the block and come right back. It was just something that he enjoyed. He worked on his own car. Something went wrong, he taught himself.
He was brought up right. He went to church. He got baptized.
If he knew that trouble was coming his way, he wouldn't be there. This is something that just snuck up on him.
It's a hurtful feeling to have to go through life knowing that someone hated your brother that much to take his life. Taking him away was like taking a part of me away.
911, you need police, fire, and ambulance.
I don't know, police. It's a dead body laying down here on 109th and St. Clair, right on the corner. It's between these 2 apartment buildings.
You down at 9th and St. Clair?
Correct. And it don't look like they sleep. It look like they dead. He ain't got no shirt on, and he look young.
Did you hear any shooting?
I didn't hear anything.
All right, we'll get somebody there as soon as we can.
Okay.
Bye.
The murder of Iverson Wilson occurred on July 26, 2009 at approximately 1:15 in the morning. Mr. Wilson had been visiting a friend earlier that evening. For a reason unknown, he stopped in the area of 109 and St. Clair Avenue. He possibly had been on Navarre Court where someone had attempted to rob him and he tried to run.
Whoever he was fighting with, they took his shirt, he came out his shirt, and they shot my little brother in the back.
His body was discovered between the buildings at 620 East 109th and 616. Wilson had suffered 1 gunshot wound to the right rear back. We also found that his vehicle had later on been seen approximately 10 hours after the shooting, being driven by a black male, approximately 5'5" to 5'10", medium complexion, wearing a white t-shirt, blue jeans, wheat-colored Timberland boots, and a baseball cap with a Cincinnati C on it. The male was seen inside the vehicle searching it and trying to make sure that witnesses did not see his face. The male exited the vehicle and walked north on 108 and has not been seen since.
I just couldn't believe it. And I went to identify my son, and it was a shock.
And when I went to that coroner's office and saw my little brother laying there, it just blew me away.
I didn't know what to do. I basically just broke down just right there.
We're asking for any help, anyone who might have seen this. Again, we've got a person who commits a homicide almost 11 hours earlier and he still has the person's car. And this all is within a 2-block radius of each other, where we found the body and where we found his vehicle.
We'll be right back with more on the murder of Iverson Wilson right after this.
In 1975, the first Crime Stoppers organization was formed by a detective who believed media attention helped solve cases. Since then, thousands of Crime Stoppers organizations have been formed around the globe with the same mission, encouraging members of the public to stand up against crime. Every 14 minutes, Crime Stoppers help solve a crime somewhere in the world. Get involved.
Welcome back to Crime Stoppers Case Files. We now continue the story of the murder of Iverson Wilson.
On July 26, 2009, at approximately 1:15 in the morning, Iverson Wilson was murdered as he was running away from possibly being robbed by one or more individuals. Wilson was shot in the right rear back as he tried to escape. His body was discovered at approximately 12:30 later on that day. His vehicle was found on 108 just south of St. Clair. The weapon used to murder Mr. Wilson was probably a medium caliber, possibly a revolver. We did not recover a shell case at the scene. We learned that the victim had recently purchased clothing, a two-piece red patent leather suit and some embroidered t-shirts. None of these items were found on scene with either the victim or his vehicle when they were recovered.
He didn't deserve to get shot in the back over some clothes he went to the mall and bought with his paycheck.
I hope somebody really listen and just understand the kind of pain that families is going through behind a homicide or just wrong.
And I have to live with this for the rest of my life, knowing that whoever shot my little brother still could be walking around, know me, my family, know everybody.
I can hear Iverson say, "Ma, find out who did this to me." And I know through the grace of God, justice will prevail, because you just can't take somebody's life and think you can go on with your life as if nothing has happened, because all doors is gonna close in your face and you will never have peace. Nothing will happen good in your life. You will be living in a living hell.
You got to answer to God for what you done. You took someone's little brother, someone's son, someone's loved one from them. I miss my little brother.
We're asking that anyone with information contact the Cleveland Police Homicide Unit, either myself, Detective Jamal Ansari, or my partner, Detective Joselito Sandoval.
Iverson Wilson worked hard for what he had, and he never hurt anyone. Unfortunately, someone decided to take his life and did so like a coward, shooting him in the back. And for what? A bag of clothes? A car for the night? Our mission is to stop crimes like this from happening. And the first step is to lock up whoever commits this kind of murder. If you know anything about the murder of Iverson Wilson, please call Crime Stoppers today. Your tip could earn you $2,000 and you'll be making our community safer. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Crime Stoppers Case Files, where you are empowered to help clean up your own streets, our streets. Remember, our towns and our neighborhoods are a direct reflection of what we allow them to be. So let's all do our part to make them safe. And we'll see you next week for another edition of Crime Stoppers Case Files.